Ever wondered how New Balance sprinted ahead in the running shoe race? It all started with a simple promise to make excellent happen. Now let's take a step back, shall we? Picture this. It's the early 1900s, and a humble English immigrant, William J. Riley, sets up a small arch support company in Boston. His mission? To provide better fitting shoes for those with foot problems. He named his company New Balance, inspired by observing chickens balancing on 3 claws in his backyard. He believed, just like a chicken's foot, a shoe should offer perfect balance. This philosophy led to the creation of the first New Balance shoe, designed with 3 support points. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and New Balance is still standing strong, dedicated to its commitment to quality. But by this time, the market is getting crowded. Bigger brands with deeper pockets are stepping into the arena, and the competition is turning fierce. The running shoe industry is not for the faint-hearted. It's a relentless race where the terrain keeps shifting. Trends change, technologies evolve, and consumer demands fluctuate. And let's not forget, the market is filled with giants like Nike and Adidas, making it even harder for a company like New Balance to keep pace. Yet, New Balance didn't just keep pace, they sprinted ahead. They didn't just survive in this ruthless market, they thrived. And it wasn't by chance or sheer luck. No, it was a calculated move, a strategic decision driven by a commitment to make excellent happen. But how did they manage to do that? How did they navigate through all the challenges, the fierce competition, and the constantly changing market dynamics? How did they make excellent happen? Well, the answer to that lies in a powerful business philosophy called the theory of constraints. But we'll delve into that in the next scene. For now, just remember this, New Balance's success story isn't about outrunning the competition. It's about understanding the race and setting the right pace. But how did New Balance navigate these challenges? The answer lies in the theory of constraints. The theory of constraints, or TOC, is a management philosophy that seeks to identify and eliminate the constraints that hinder a company's progress. It's a bit like setting out for a run and realizing that you've got a pebble in your shoe. You could keep running, sure, but that pebble's going to slow you down and make things uncomfortable. So what do? You stop, remove the pebble, and get back to your run, now smoother and faster. That's TOC in a nutshell. It's about finding those pebbles that are slowing down your business and removing them. TOC was developed by Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, and it's centered around the idea that every system, no matter how complex, has at least one constraint that limits its output. These constraints could be anything from a slow production line to a lackluster marketing campaign. The goal of TOC is to identify these bottlenecks and systematically improve them, thereby increasing the overall efficiency of the system. Now, how does TOC work? It's a 5-step process. First, you identify the constraint. Next, you decide how to exploit the constraint, which means figuring out how to get the most out of it with the resources you have. Then, you subordinate everything else to the decision made in step 2. This means you align all other processes to support the constraint. Fourth, you elevate the constraint or increase its capacity. And finally, if the constraint has been broken, you go back to step 1 and find the new constraint. Applying this method can lead to significant improvements in various aspects of a business. In production, it can help streamline processes and reduce waste. In marketing, it can assist in identifying the most effective strategies and discarding the ones that aren't working. Even in human resources, TOC can be used to better manage personnel and improve team productivity. New Balance saw potential in this approach and decided to give it a run. New Balance started by identifying its biggest constraint, production. The company was aware that in order to make strides, it had to pinpoint the bottlenecks that were slowing down their production process. That's where the theory of constraints, or TOC, came into play. New Balance took a deep dive into their systems, meticulously analyzing each step of their production line. And it wasn't long before they discovered that the constraint lay in the assembly stage. Now, identifying the constraint is one thing, but addressing it is another. So, how did New Balance tackle this challenge? Simple. They applied the 5 focusing steps of TOC. They started by acknowledging the assembly as their system constraint. They then made sure that everything else in the production process was subordinated to this constraint. This meant that all other stages were adjusted to ensure that the assembly stage was never left idle or overburdened. The third step was to exploit the constraint, which involved making the most of the assembly stage. They did this by streamlining operations and eliminating any wasteful activities, thereby ensuring maximum efficiency. But did they stop there? Of course not. New Balance then elevated the constraint. They invested in state-of-the-art machinery and trained their staff to master the new equipment. This boosted the assembly stage's output and reduced the strain on other stages. Having addressed the assembly stage, New Balance then went back to step 1 and identified a new constraint. This process of continuous improvement is the essence of the theory of constraints. And the impact of this methodology on New Balance, well, let's just say that it revolutionized their production process. They were able to significantly increase their output, reduce waste, and deliver their high-quality products faster than ever before. The results were immediate and impressive. The application of the theory of constraints allowed New Balance to break free from the shackles of their production constraints and race ahead in the competitive world of athletic footwear. With the constraint in production addressed, New Balance experienced a significant increase in output. The shift was like a runner finding their stride after a taxing uphill climb. The company was no longer tripping over its own shoelaces, so to speak. By identifying and addressing the bottlenecks in their production line, New Balance was able to streamline their processes. This led to a drastic improvement in their manufacturing efficiency. It's like a well-oiled machine, each cog working seamlessly with the others, propelling the entire mechanism forward. The figures were staggering. In the first year alone, New Balance saw a double-digit increase in their production output. It's as if they had unlocked a hidden gear, allowing them to push past their previous limitations and into uncharted territory. But it wasn't just about churning out more sneakers. The theory of constraints also helped New Balance to improve the quality of their products. The methodology forced them to take a hard look at their manufacturing process, identifying areas where they could make improvements. The result was a product that not only reached the market faster, but was also of a higher quality. This transformation didn't go unnoticed by the market. Consumers were quick to recognize the improved quality and availability of New Balance products. Sales started to climb, growing steadily year on year. The market share followed suit, with New Balance carving out a bigger slice of the pie for themselves. But the real triumph was in the satisfaction of their customers. People who wore New Balance sneakers were thrilled with the improvements. They loved that they could get their favorite designs faster, and that the shoes they bought were built to last. This customer satisfaction translated into loyalty, and loyalty, as we all know, is priceless. In short, the theory of constraints provided New Balance with the tools they needed to level up their game. They became faster, more efficient, and produced a higher quality product. The market responded positively, rewarding the company with increased sales and a larger market share. But New Balance didn't stop there. New Balance continued to apply the theory of constraints to other areas of its business. It wasn't just about manufacturing anymore. The company was ready to take another leap, this time into the realms of marketing and distribution. Imagine the theory of constraints as a key that could unlock potential in every crevice of the business. New Balance did just that. They used the key of TOC to unlock the doors of marketing and distribution, clearing bottlenecks, making processes more efficient, and setting a new pace for success. In the marketing arena, New Balance started identifying its constraints. They figured out the limiting factors that were holding back their advertising and promotional campaigns. Once identified, these constraints were addressed head-on. The results? A more streamlined, effective marketing strategy that hit the right notes with the target audience. The brand's visibility soared, and so did its popularity. Simultaneously, New Balance started applying the theory of constraints to its distribution strategies. The company recognized that it was not enough to produce top-quality shoes. It had to ensure that these shoes reached the customer swiftly and smoothly. They identified bottlenecks in their distribution chain and systematically eliminated them. This led to faster delivery times and happier customers. The results of applying the theory of constraints to these areas were nothing short of spectacular. New Balance's market share grew exponentially. The brand became a household name, synonymous with quality and reliability. The company's revenues shot up and profitability soared, but it wasn't just about the numbers, it was about the transformation. New Balance had transformed from a company struggling with constraints to a company that thrived by overcoming them. The theory of constraints was no longer just a methodology for New Balance, it had become a way of life, a guiding philosophy. Through the theory of constraints, New Balance was able to break free from its limitations and race ahead. It pushed the limits, challenged the norms, and emerged victorious. And in doing so, it set a shining example for others to follow. New Balance's success story offers valuable lessons for businesses of all kinds. The company's journey is a shining example of how the theory of constraints, or TOC, can revolutionize operations and drive growth. So, what are the key takeaways from this fascinating story? Firstly, the importance of identifying your constraint. Just as a runner must know their limits to push past them, a business must understand its bottlenecks to overcome them. New Balance recognized that their production process was their Achilles heel, and by addressing it head-on with TOC, they transformed their weakness into a strength. Secondly, New Balance's story teaches us about the power of focus. They didn't try to fix everything at once, but rather concentrated on one constraint at a time. This laser focus allowed them to make significant strides in efficiency and productivity, proving that sometimes less really is more. Thirdly, the concept of continuous improvement is fundamental. Just as a runner doesn't stop training after one successful race, a business should always be looking to better itself. New Balance's use of TOC wasn't a one-time fix, but rather a long-term strategy for growth and improvement. And finally, New Balance's journey underscores the importance of agility. In the face of an ever-changing market, the company's ability to adapt and evolve was crucial. They didn't just overcome their constraints, they learned to dance with them, turning potential obstacles into opportunities for innovation. So, how can businesses apply these lessons? It's simple. Identify your constraints, focus on them one at a time, commit to continuous improvement, and remain agile. By doing so, you can turn your own constraints into your greatest assets, just like New Balance did. In the end, New Balance's journey is a testament to the power of overcoming constraints. It serves as a reminder that even the most daunting obstacles can be transformed into stepping stones to success, if approached with the right mindset and tools. The finish line may be the end of the race, but it's just the beginning of the learning process. With its constraints addressed, New Balance is now poised for even greater success. But what does this future look like? Well, it's a horizon filled with innovation, quality, and boundless potential. Just as a runner keeps pushing forward, so too does New Balance. The company's journey is a marathon, not a sprint, and it's this long-term vision that will continue to propel them forward. Their commitment to the theory of constraints has not only transformed their operations, but it's also reshaping their future. Innovation is a key part of New Balance's DNA. They're not content with simply being good, they strive to be the best. The company is constantly pushing the envelope, looking for new ways to improve. Whether it's developing cutting-edge materials, refining their designs, or finding efficiencies in their production process, New Balance is always on the move. Quality, too, remains a cornerstone of their strategy. New Balance recognizes that a great product doesn't just happen, it's the result of meticulous attention to detail and an unwavering commitment to excellence. They understand that their reputation hinges on the quality of their products, and they're not willing to compromise on this. But perhaps most importantly, New Balance is keeping its eyes on the prize. They're not just looking at where they are now, but where they can be. They're envisioning a future where they continue to lead the pack, setting the pace in the sports footwear industry. They're dreaming of a future where their shoes continue to be the first choice for athletes and casual runners alike. A future where their brand doesn't just symbolize quality and innovation, but embodies the spirit of resilience, determination, and the sheer joy of running. New Balance's journey is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started. They've come a long way, but they're not slowing down. Instead, they're lacing up their shoes, setting their sights on the horizon, and preparing for the next leg of their race. As New Balance continues its run, the finish line keeps moving further ahead. And isn't that the beauty of a race? It's not about reaching the end, it's about the journey. And for New Balance, the journey is just as exciting as the destination. New Balance's story is just one example of how businesses can overcome constraints and achieve success. This tale of triumph is one for the books, but it's far from being alone in the world of corporate victories. In our next video, we'll dive into other success stories, spotlighting companies that have also harnessed the power of the theory of constraints. We'll journey through their challenges, their strategies, and their victories, just as we've done with New Balance. We'll explore how they've turned constraints into stepping stones, obstacles into opportunities, and trials into triumphs. We'll see how these companies have not just survived but thrived, and how they've not just run the race but won it. So get ready to be inspired, to be educated, and to be empowered. Stay tuned to learn about more success stories like this one. Remember, the race is long, but with the right strategies, anyone can be a winner.